folks who are new to Michigan or haven't heard of the Mackinac Policy Conference before, what is it? Why does it matter?
So the Mackinac Policy Conference is unique. It's a terrific asset that the Chamber happens to be stewards of, but it's essentially Michigan's senior management retreat that takes place on an island where we have you sequestered with no cars, mediocre cell phone reception, but it's really it's a management retreat in the sense that we're bringing together academic leaders, business leaders, civic leaders, obviously political leaders, to be in one place at one time to really address the opportunities and challenges that Michigan has before us. What are we going to do about these opportunities and challenges? And the great thing about it is that all these leaders are there. I mean, these are all C-suite leaders, and they're all accessible. If you're media, if you're a fellow attendee, everyone's accessible on equal terms, and relationships are created, discussions are had that would take months to schedule individually, but you're going to have dozens of them in the span of an hour.
Matt, as chair of the conference, you get to put a big imprint into the theme, and the theme this year is the power of and. Tell me about that and how you're thinking about that theme.
Well, as Sandy mentioned, that this is a conversation amongst business leaders, civic leaders, and others that in the current environment is very often framed in either or terms. Okay, you're Democrat or Republican, you're left or right, you're Spartan, Wolverine. But we all know from a lot of personal experience, and all of us have this, is that the best ideas, the best solutions come when multiple points of view are brought to the table, sometimes after a really healthy debate. And so what we want to do is leverage that power of and, bring some concepts together that may have some constructive tension to them, and see if we can drive forward for better solutions for everybody.
That's really saying something, though, that the power of and can work for Spartans and Wolverines. I mean, you're throwing down there.
Yeah, I'm throwing down the gauntlet, and I say that as someone who grew up in mid-Michigan and a Spartan.
Here at One Detroit, the future of work is something we talk a lot about. Talk to me about the future of work and how that might intertwine into these conversations up at the island.
We will cover the future of work in several different ways. The most obvious one is we'll talk a lot about talent. And one of the things we're going to do, not only in this session, but others, is try to do a level set with some data. You know, you can't have an and unless you agree on a common set of facts. So we'll start with that, and then we'll bring out some different points of view about how we develop talent more effectively so that people can be more effective in the future of work. We'll also talk about things like electrification and the transformation of the automotive and mobility industry, which will have a huge impact on all of us in Michigan.
Sandy, you mentioned the sort of senior managers up on the island. As I mentioned, these are philanthropists. You know, it's heady, weighty stuff. Help me understand, for someone living right now in Detroit and Southeast Michigan who isn't going to the island, how what is happening on the island could affect daily lives in the future of Michigan.
So I'd say two things. First of all, what happens on the island doesn't stay on the island. It is the opposite of Las Vegas. First of all, the sessions are streamed, so what our audience is seeing when you're sitting in that main theater room, listening to either Bill Ford or Liz Cheney or Fareed Zakaria or Santa Ono, you can watch for free thanks to our partnership with Detroit Public Television. The second thing I would say is that the conference has a great history of working on long-term challenges that eventually come to fruition that affect all of us. Example one, outside these windows you can see the building of the Gordie Howe Bridge. That is something that the conference and the chamber worked on for literally 20 years, highlighted at the conference. The car insurance reform bill was signed at the conference in 2019, celebrating a bipartisan win and today's very non-bipartisan environment. The final pieces of the grand bargain that got Detroit through the municipal bankruptcy were sealed at the conference. So there's a whole history of things, both big and small, that kind of come to fruition or get their roots started at the conference.
This is going to be the first conference in, well, ever, where Democrats are running the show in Lansing, right? The governor, both chambers of the legislature. Has that changed the dynamic as you put this conference together, or expectations of what might happen with this sort of trifecta?
Regardless, who's in control, if it's the R's or the D's, we try to program the conference in a very bipartisan way. We take pride in the fact that the Detroit Regional Chamber is a bipartisan business organization. We work with and equally are offended by both sides of the aisle. The way it does change is that obviously when you have Democrats in control or Republicans in control, you'll see more of that party on stage. Like, for example, our governor and the mayor of Detroit, both Democrats, they're going to be featured. If they were Republicans, you would see them as Republicans.
Matt, what are you most looking forward to from the conference this year?
I'm very excited about a lot of the speakers. I have our CEO, Brian Moynihan, coming. He'll talk about how the power of and impacts our company and the work that we do around the world. Liz Cheney, we've mentioned, will also be there. And what we're hoping is that those speakers, but also many of the panelists, drive a dialogue that sounds different and lasts longer, frankly. And as Sandy said, should go beyond the porch, should go beyond the island, because we really want to sort of start conversations that drive forward for more ands for the state of Michigan.
Sandy, what are you most looking forward to?
I am really looking forward to this kind of this umbrella theme that Matt has created about the power of and, knitting things together. We need to move as Michiganders away from trying to address our challenges and address our opportunities through purely a programmatic approach. We need to set an umbrella. What is the culture in which these programs are taking place? What is our North Star? So tying together or weaving together these multiple ands to create a bigger picture for a bigger strategy.
Watch One Detroit, Thursday at 7:30 p.m.
You can find more at onedetroitpbs.org or subscribe to our social media channels and sign up for our One Detroit newsletter.